No pressure.
They run away.
Good morning again. Welcome to the co-pastors forum, but it's really half a co-pastor and an executive minister. We weren't sure what to call it when we started, so we just called it a pastors forum. We are so glad you're here. This is the annual start of the year, State of the Union of the Church, and to just around here and from our perspective, and we get to hear your questions or your insights about what is happening around Mountview Church. So thank you for being here. Let me open in prayer. Thank you, O God, that you draw us together to do the worshipful work of God in the world. Thank you, God, that love is the name of the game. Help us to feel directed, to feel lifted, to feel blessed by all that we do. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, we have 4 different categories that we would like to address. And the first one is probably the one that's on most of our minds. It definitely is on ours on a week to week. This is Jason Hayes, just in case you don't know. This is Reverend Dr. Right?
Thank you.
Reverend Dr. Jason Hayes. His role for the time is executive minister.
Yeah. And usually I'm standing right over there.
I know. He usually has his little FBI, CIA little thing that he goes, and he's always talking into a handheld
the
thing.
radio. Yeah,
Yes, we feel safe with Jason. I feel safer having you up here, actually. It's good. He's very tall. So I feel like he can see everything. Yes. Anyway, so we are in the midst of a transition. If you haven't heard, that word will be used a lot, has been used a lot. And we are living out a new model for leadership called a distributive model of leadership, which at its basic description, basic understanding, is that we took the responsibilities of our former co-pastor, Ian Cummins. This is simplistic. And we kind of spread them around the rest of the staff in a simple way. Jason, as executive minister, has stepped into this role of participating more weekly in worship, in preaching, and taking on other responsibilities among the staff and things that kind of Ian used to do, but not all of them.
Not all of it, but
Jason was the executive director of operations and finance for 6 years, and so he still maintained some of those responsibilities. And so you are really juggling a lot of new things and different things, but is the same good guy.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
the same talented, over-talented person that we have known and loved. Do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah,
this new role?
let me just add a new colleague we have.
Yes,
who is
please. Yes.
John Thexton, Reverend Dr. John Thexton. He's going to stand up in the back. John is serving as our Senior Director of Operations and Finance, and so I'm trying to move a bulk of what was my previous portfolio in Operations and Finance over to John. John's taking the lead on a handful of those, so it's great to have John. It gives me a little more breathing room to pick up some of the things that Ian had. So
Yes, we have, John is another talented person on staff. So the rest of us go, really? Oh, you guys? So we're glad to have him. We have what is called a transition team we've put into place. That is a team of lay leaders who have taken on the responsibility of overseeing the journey from Ian's departure, essentially, to the hiring and installation of a new co-pastor, right? So we have about 10 people who have taken on this, again, this responsibility to navigate all the pieces. And for those of you who understand what searches involve, there are multiple pieces to prepare, to execute, and to celebrate the hire of a new pastor. Do you have names of people? Do you want to share, or do I have names?
Well, I think
We don't.
they're,
Okay.
they're in the pastor's table.
Okay. Together, we might be able to. So you should know the names of the folks who are so committed and have been committed to meeting regularly, and will do so for the next at least a year, probably. Cody Belsley and Stephanie Williams are the co-chairs of this. Is Stephanie here? I know Cody is not. Stephanie's right
Stephanie.
there. There you go. Stephanie, stand up and just turn around so you know. Yes. Thank you. Stephanie is also an active elder right now, serving on session, and they've taken on this responsibility of navigating this transition. Rob Mathis, you're going to have to help me, Stephanie. Yep, Rob Mathis, Michelle Horn, thank you. Michelle's like, right here, thank you. Paul Lingenfelter, yeah, you can just shout them out. I go blank when it's time for
Lena
this.
Waite.
I can't say. Lena Waite, thank you. Corey Kalinek, thank you. It's
yeah.
going to be a collective here, joint response. Jamie Moyer,
Jamie Moyer, she's on person.
Sujan Kim. We already got Paul. I think that might be it.
Is that everybody?
I don't know. Maybe. If we didn't name you, I apologize. Is there one more?
That's it.
I think maybe it's it. So part of their responsibility, a huge part of the responsibility of the transition team, is to offer and to work with a consulting firm called Holy Cow that we've been working with. I know. That's their name. It's legit. They really are legit. So Holy Cow has given us this congregational assessment tool, right? Congregational assessment tool. You've probably heard about it, the CAT. And we keep encouraging you to fill out this assessment tool. It is available, has been available already for about 2 weeks. It has another 3 weeks, actually, through the 29th or the 30th of September. So you can go online. There's a link on the website to get to the CAT. There's a link in the weekly email to get to the CAT. In this assessment tool, it takes about 15-20 minutes to fill out. There will be opportunities in the Commons on the 15th and the 29th. There will be multiple devices, so if you want to fill it out here at church in the Commons, there will be hard copies of the CAT available for those who are homebound or don't get to church regularly. Anything more about the CAT? Yes. Good. So we really, really, really would like you to fill that out so that we have a way of getting feedback from you about what you're thinking and feeling and hoping for the future of Montview Church. And I also want to say, be prayerful when you do it, before you take it, because it's easy to just kind of fill out a survey like that. But your responses are really, really important, and especially the 11 questions about the pastor.
The existing current co-pastor.
Yeah, the current co-pastor. Just think about having 500 bosses evaluating you. So think about that when you're filling it out. So that's just my side comment. What's next?
Yeah, let me just add a few things on the transition. Then we will gather the data from the congregational assessment tool, and Holy Cow benchmarks that with trends in congregations all across the country, many who are Presbyterian, PCUSA congregations. And that data will help leadership, elders, and certainly the upcoming search committee to navigate sort of the future, both what's our sense of the co-pastor, our next co-pastor we're looking for, and also to identify which of the areas in the congregation during this time of transition are needing some more sort of support and resources. So it's going to be a great reflective tool for us and for elders on session to really navigate this transition and set us up really well. I mean, in some ways, this is an exciting time. It's a great time to pause, where we've got solid leadership across all of our ministries to say, wow, look at what Montview Church is doing, where we're called, where we're excited, and where we're moving. I think it's a really exciting time to do this assessment.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's very good. Do you want to speak about the search committee, the nominating,
Right.
search committee? Yeah.
So of course it's time to have what's called a co-pastors nominating committee, a fancy term for a search committee, and our officer nominating committee is currently reviewing names that have been nominated for those that would serve on that search committee. And they're reviewing those candidates now. We anticipate that the Officer Nominating Committee will conclude their work and will have a slate of candidates to bring to the congregation. So in this case, the search committee is nominated not by session, although they're involved in that discernment, to the congregation for a congregational vote. And so we anticipate that would likely come sometime in August. August. We just left August. in October.
Gave me a heart attack.
Yeah, and I think part of that is while we're not in a hurry to search for our next co-pastor, we do have the sense that we think it's very possible to have our next co-pastor next summer, which is great timing, because then next September we'll have Celebration Sunday, we'll be running our program, and then in terms of our cycle of our ministry programs, that would be great timing. And we're going to trust the Holy Spirit, and the Spirit will bring us the candidate, and we'll navigate our search process. So,
Just to be clear, a lot of people have asked this question. The transition team in place is not the search committee, okay? Yeah, we know that. The transition team is not the search committee. The search committee will fall under, essentially, they will oversee, again, that process. The transition team will keep things moving along. So we're so grateful for that. No one on the transition team that I know of will serve on the nominating committee for the co-pastor, okay?
But they'll work collaboratively, but it's not the search committee.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
I think that's it on
Okay.
transition. Yeah.
Do we want to take, okay, very good.
Pause.
Actually, you know what? Let me get Doug. Let me get a Doug right there.
The
A
one and
Doug with a
only.
mic right there with Mary Jo. So let's keep these questions to this topic then for clarification.
I realize the transition team is not the search committee, but will they have a pretty big role in putting together the church information form that the nominating committee will use? And that might be in the weeds too much.
Well, no, I think
That's a good question.
Yeah, thank you. The congregational assessment tool, the report that comes back, will certainly influence and shape the search committee, now called the ministry profile. It used to be called the MIF, right? And so that's why prayerfully completing the survey is really important, because it shapes the work of the search committee. And of course, as you know, Mary Jo, we've had several searches recently, and so much of the work done on the ministry profile when we go out to look for another pastor is good, solid work that's good, that we can already leverage for the next search.
Yeah, does that help?
Right. Yes.
So so I think what we're saying is they won't directly influence it, but all that information we'll get back at assessment will be accessible, right? Any other questions there, Steve?
So, okay, now that it's clear to me that the transition committee is not the same as the nominating, what's happening in October possibly?
So in October, we will likely have a congregational meeting to elect the search committee.
Okay, thank you.
The size of that search committee will be between 9 and 11 people. That's pretty standard, and those folks, we've received names from many spheres in the congregation, people who have self-nominated, people who have nominated others. Hopefully the others know that, and it's always nice, yeah. And discernment that has come on so that it's a representative body. So that's our hope.
So you said that it was possible that we might have a new co-pastor next summer, August or whatever.
Don't quote him.
Don't quote
Okay.
me. I'm hoping for that. Because I love being in this role, and I really love my old job as the executive director. So eventually, when the new pastor comes, I will move back in that role.
I'm trying not to take that personally. I love
no,
her,
I love
but
working
I'm out.
with you.
So whenever that time actually comes, is that going to be a interim pastor, or is this transition period we're going through kind of our interim pastor time?
Great question. Do you want to reiterate what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks,
So
Debbie.
thank you for that. We will be searching and calling for our next installed co-pastor. If you remember that our interim co-pastor search committee extended an offer, and that candidate withdrew pretty last minute. And so in consultation with Denver Presbytery, we discerned that instead of having a traditional interim, we will then move to the distributed model that Clover mentioned, which was actually a model that Denver Presbytery proposed to us, given the size of our staff and our resources. So we will not have an interim co-pastor. We will move right to searching for our next installed co-pastor.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next topic, and that is a topic about our work around anti-racism and this church's work around anti-racism and education about white supremacy. I want to put a plug for the Jamar Tisby studies that continue. They are continuing this fall. They are advertised in multiple places within the church, in the bulletins, in the TWAM, on the website, again. So we encourage you, if you've never taken a study on the color of compromise, Jamar Tisby's book and video series on that, or how to fight racism, the Anti-Racism Trust Team is the group leading those, facilitating those, offering those to this congregation. About 150 people in this congregation have gone through those studies in the last, I guess, almost 3 years. And we encourage more. The good news is other people from other churches are joining in. They are Zoom-only offerings, and so that allows for people from around the city to be taking part. So it's a wonderful service that this church is offering to the larger community as well. Jamar Tisby, if you recall, how many of you saw Jamar when he was here 2 years ago? November of 2022. It was almost a revival weekend. It was wonderful. And Dr. Tisby is returning, and he is going to be, so this is a little bit of a segue, he will be the third speaker in the series on white Christian nationalism that a coalition of Christian churches and other religious organizations are offering to the Denver community. So it's a coalition of faith communities offering a series on white Christian nationalism. an education on white Christian nationalism. We had our first offering last few weeks ago in August here at Montview, and we watched God and Country, a film about the reality of white Christian nationalism, that ideological movement in the United States. We had a panel of respondents. We had about 200 people come. It was wonderful. The second episode in this series will be September 27th, a Friday evening here at Montview Church, and that will be led by Dr. Amanda Henderson from Iliff School of Theology, and she will talk about Introduction to White Christian Nationalism. So if you missed the first one, I would encourage you to watch that documentary. It's available on Prime Video, or come to Friday the 27th. Dr. Tisby will be the third in that series on white Christian nationalism and the Montview lecturer for 2024. So he will be here on a Saturday, the 27th. I guess that is the 27th of October. Is that right? And he will, from 9 to 12, he'll do 2 sessions on a Saturday morning, 9 to 12, free and open to the public. So I trust that we'll have good attendance. And then Sunday morning, he will preach, and he will do another adult faith formation class at 9:30. So we'll have him for the weekend. We've given him a robust schedule, is what he said. A robust schedule. He said, yes, that's what we have developed a really solid, warm relationship with Dr. Tisby over the last 2 years, and he's very appreciative of Montview Church.
Yeah, that's a great series.
It is a great series.
It was a great showing of the documentary, and
yeah, and it's just been fun to coordinate and partner with other clergy and faith leaders in this community. So it's been a great byproduct of that.
Should we name some leadership changes with the Anti-Racism Trust team? Their
Sure.
work continues. Yeah,
Yep.
so I think we're 4 years now. Is that right? The Anti-Racism Trust team has been taking the lead on us as a congregation doing our own work around white privilege, and the book studies is one piece of that, and helping us think about how anti-racism is as a commitment, as a value in our ministries across all of our programs. So the book studies are one piece of that, but really anti-racism work is in some sense beyond the trust team. It's really integrated throughout all of our ministries. White Christian nationalism is a good example of that.
The choir's reparations
The
program.
choir reparations
spiritual-
program,
yep.
that's right. We recently hosted the program on the history of Christianity in Denver around embedded white supremacy in the Christian communities in Denver, another great program. So our anti-racism work is kind of spreading out through everything. Anyway, we want to give thanks and appreciation for the leadership of the Anti-Racism Task Force. Diane Briscoe, is Diane here? Diane, there's
Briscoe
Diane.
McKenzie.
Diane is finally concluding her work as the co-moderator of that team. We also
4
have
years.
Oh yeah,
Blissful,
tireless
a
work.
blissful 4 years.
So thank you, Diane, for your tireless work. And we have Charlie Bruce is currently co-moderator. He's remaining, and then we have Carol Pauls joining as the new. The second appreciation is for our own Amanda Osenga, who has been the staff liaison for 4 years, supporting that work and helping serve as the liaison. So we really see the fruits of that after these 4 years.
Thanks,
It's amazing work.
Yeah, we're very grateful. Any questions on that topic? All right. I don't see anyone. All right. Third one is what we call depth. So depth or education, deepening our faith, deepening our sense of our relationship with God and our relationships with one another. So the education and connection piece of this, again, we want to highlight supper clubs. Now is the time to register for a supper club if you're not involved in one. Heather Kerr is our new supper club czar, and she is wonderful and is enthusiastic about this a program. We've been running supper clubs, I believe, for about 15 years. This was a passion project of Ian Cummins, and we usually have about 30 or so supper clubs with about 8 to 10, 6, 8, 10 people who meet monthly for 6 months. It's now for 6 months, November, December, January, February, March, April. And so we usually have around 300 people who gather and connect and get to know one another. We, this year, will make a video for each month around a topic that we're not completely sure about, but I think we have a beat on it.
We're
and,
close.
What's that?
We're close.
We're
there,
close.
Yeah.
Yes, and so the video is made and distributed through your supper club captain, and it then will be what gives you conversation starters. For those of you who actually watch them and actually use them, we know. This is an opportunity not to do a book group, but to have just a bit of conversation starters.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we really encourage you to do that. It's a great way to be connected. Lots of small group studies planned, I hope. How many of you have seen the email, saw the email that went out about the adult faith formation lineup? Have you seen?
Good.
Oh, good,
Oh,
good,
that's
good.
great.
Yeah. There are so many classes and study groups this year. It was almost hard to schedule all of them. We have so many enthusiastic people, talented people leading Bible study and topical studies and evening studies, book discussions, and Sunday morning class series filled for the entire fall. And anyway, we just hope that you'll take part of it, take part of any of it, all of it. It's a way to, again, connect, know one another, and grow in your faith, on your faith journey.
Yeah, let me just add that Clover's sermon this morning is right on that point right there. That is how we have a sense of belonging. It's how we be and do community together. And so if you're not involved in a small group ministry here at Mom, because with our size, it's really easy to get lost, but intentionally seek out whether, and you named a few this morning in your sermon, the knitters, or be involved in immigration task force, or help out with cooking meals for soul food. There are so many different ways to connect. And in addition to worship, then find that place to connect. And I just want to plug committees. So Presbyterians...
They get a bad name.
They get a bad name. Presbyterians
bad
are all
rap.
about committees. But community happens in committees.
Yes.
It's true.
Yes.
And sometimes they can be arduous, but community still happens. And so don't forget that serving on the community is also another way to do small group. It's another way to do church. And the work of the church really happens in those communities.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And sometimes when people will say, well, we should start a small group program, I'm like, have you looked around? You got a lot of them going here. Just need to think of it as community.
Think of it differently. Yeah.
That's
sure,
right.
sure.
Any questions on any of that? Education, Sandy, this was one thing. Sandy and Amanda's efforts with parent groups, connecting families. Tonight, for example, Amanda's Youth at Montview group, both the junior high and the senior high, the middle schoolers and high schoolers, and their families are meeting for dinner in the fellowship hall. And she came into the pastor study before the 8:30 service and said, please announce it, but we're already at 100. So it's so great. Isn't that great?
That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
It's a great challenge to
Yeah.
have. So the youth ministry is, I think, flourishing here at Mount Church, and we are grateful. Grateful for you, grateful for your kids, grateful for the leadership of the youth program. So that's great. Okay,
Space?
space.
Should we
That's
move to
yours.
space? Yeah,
Space. Let's
so-
talk about the space.
Yeah, so we are a busy building. And as you mentioned, like the church isn't just the building, but the building is the container where all kinds of ministry and mission happens. And so I want to just highlight how busy now. I mean, COVID, construction, forget it. We are running on all cylinders with many groups using our space, and we're opening it up to the community. We had over 12 different outside music groups using our space, Miller Center and here in the sanctuary. We've got, I think, 9 12-step groups using the space. We have community education events like the Histories of Christianity program we mentioned, and League of Women Voters. We've got youth programs with music, like opening act, Sylvia Cordy's organization. So now that's a wonderful thing to open our space and allow it to thrive in mission and ministry. And it's a lot of work keeping up on the room setups and our facilities staff and our administrative staff. And so again, it's like having 100 people coming to dinner with Amanda. It's like, it's great to have all these groups coming. And I just want to highlight that because so many people come through our space and say, wow, that you can see the care and the deep stewardship that all of you have invested in our recent capital campaign, and to continue to make it a beautiful space, a functioning space where the community can gather. And we see the fruits of that, that project now, that we're on all cylinders. It's really amazing.
Absolutely.
It's great.
Absolutely. Yep. Any questions about space and the use of...
Oh, Temple Micah.
Oh,
exactly. I
did think about that. That's kind of a big one.
Yeah, it's a big one. Speaking of space, we're living into our relationship with Temple Micah, which overall has been really great. We've been doing some shared programming. In fact, our upcoming Guns to Gardens program that Susie Pappas and Jan Paul are taking the lead on, Temple Micah is a big partner in that program. And of course, we're navigating the scheduling of bar and bat mitzvahs, which is great, and a few bumps. Just whenever you have a new roommate, you're always trying to figure it out. But overall, I think you would concur. Like our staff are getting along, and we have this sense of being in it together. So
yeah. Rabbi Morris comes to our staff meeting, our all staff meeting on Wednesday afternoons. Most of the time he comes, and he's a hoot. So it's great to bring Jewish humor into the we made him lead the staff meeting a couple weeks ago. He was great.
It was great.
And we're doing our first joint memorial service for an interfaith family this Thursday. So it's that this relationship, the Temple Micah's presence has really opened up opportunities for sharing ministry. So that's great. They're not just tenants.
Yeah, they're not just a tenant. Yeah.
Again, any questions around that? You're very quiet.
Not a question, a comment. My next door neighbor is a member of Temple Micah, and she'll call me. She's kind of homebound most of the time, but she'll call me and say, "What's going on at our church?" That shows you the relationship, because she calls this our church.
Oh, that's great.
That's great.
That's great.
That's great. Yeah, John.
Hold on, we need the mic because folks are streaming or watching it online, I should say.
Thank you. Will their name be on the building as it was at the Methodist Church?
That's a great question.
Yeah,
you got it?
Yeah, I've got some.
Yep.
Initially, their preference was no, and partly those are around safety and security concerns. And Temple Micah is discerning when and how they might want to add their name to the physical space. And we're going to allow them to do that discernment, and then we'll figure out what we'll do in response. So,
I'm really curious, are they going to do any joint youth group activities with Temple Micah's young people?
It's a great
It's a
question.
great question. I think they were talking about it. I haven't heard anything definitive.
Yeah, Rabbi Morris and Amanda are getting to know each other well because they're right across the hall from one another, and if they are probably talking about it. Nothing else? And this, because we covered what we wanted to cover, what other questions might you have or comments that would be helpful for us and the staff? And maybe this is an opportunity for me to pause and say, in case you haven't noticed, we have an incredible staff here at Montview Church. They are remarkable. We have such a high trust among ourselves, don't you think? We believe in each other, we support one another, we laugh a lot together, we work hard, and I think we're doing well. I think we're doing well, if I might say. So anyway, I hope you can be proud of the staff that you have.
Speaking of the staff, I understand that Doug is going to be taking himself out of the mix here on Sunday mornings for a little bit, and I'm hearing some more discussion about the safety committee and their kind of more active involvement. And can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So now that John Thexton is on board, again, he's the new staff member. He's been working with the safety committee regarding their vision around a response team and a safety team on Sunday mornings. And they've been working with some other models in other congregations and to develop a operations handbook for responding to different kinds of emergencies, medical emergencies, or something happening over in the education wing, or something happening in the parking lot. So they've been doing some good groundwork on that, and John is taking the lead with working. We have a handful of, Bob Homiak is, I think, taking the lead as the chair right now around that. I know John Howell serves and John Sutherland serves on that. So
You have to be named John.
yeah. Then you can be on the committee. So I anticipate them rolling out some training around that and some more updates. We will continue to have staff cover when Doug takes a little break, and of course we've got Todd and many others who are greeters, and yeah.
In addition to thanking the staff and singing the praises of the staff, I want to thank and sing the praises of your session. The session currently active, working hard. We have 12 elders and a youth elder, so 13 elders. They've been incredible. This is an interesting and wonderful time to serve in the life of Montview's history. Right, this is a juncture, and they take it very seriously, and they give hours and hours of commitment, and they keep saying that they love it. Right, they do. All of them, Randy Smith, who's our coordinating elder. No, they really are committed in the best sense of loving this church and wanting to see this church thrive in the future. So we're so grateful for the session, your session. We are also grateful for the deacons, for our 25 deacons. We have a youth deacon as well, who are all out there on the plaza setting up a great festival for us, for all of us to enjoy so that we can build our community. And they are incredible. They're so fun, and fun is so important in the work we do.
Absolutely. I want to just, at the risk of speaking for both of those leadership bodies, deacons and elders, What they need is for all of you in this time of transition to lean in, right? To lean in, keep doing the ministries you've always done, keep showing up for the committee meetings or the knitting group or the supper clubs, whatever worship, come to worship. Continue to be faithful in your stewardship and your pledge. For those two leadership bodies to thrive as our leaders, they need all of you to keep leaning in during this time. That's critically important.
Yeah. And I know that some of you have said yes to leadership for the future, because the nominating committee, I know, meets weekly. Now, there's a group to sing their praises. Every Thursday evening, the nominating committee has been meeting since about April, May, something in there, and they too are a joyful, fun group. That's amazing. But Jeremy Willius is the vice chair, and Carrie Hansen is the chair. They're both active elders as well. And anywhere Jeremy is already fun.
Oh, absolutely.
So Jeremy has a gift for that. And so the nominating committee is hard at work. They are almost wrapping up their commitments of filling deacons, elders, personnel,
And now search committee.
and they will replace themselves as a nominating committee. And kind of in the 11th hour, we sprung on them that they have to call the search committee. And so they're like, what? So that's their job this year too. Yay. So any questions, any comments for us? Oh my goodness, okay. Again, please fill out the congregational assessment tool. The transition team is filled with really competitive people. And so they have goals. They have marked the bar so high compared to other churches in the denomination, in other denominations. So, they are beating the percentage that's the norm.
Survey participation.
Survey participation,
high
yes,
expectations.
high
So
expectations.
please
They're
fill it
like,
out.
we did it this week, we're higher. So honor their competitive natures. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.